Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bidamount.com, BidamountLive.com, and P.L. Combs Asian Art. And today is Friday, January 7th, 2022. A number of you pointed out that I said 2021 on a video earlier this week. You are right, I screwed that up. Anyway, woke up this morning and we had a little bit of weather outside. I want to share some pictures with you just quickly before we get started this week. It was kind of fun. We were predicted to get a storm overnight. Started around 1 or 2 this morning and began to build up here on the patio with my little bronze getting coated. And by sunrise outside, it was pretty snowy out. Very snowy, still coming down hard. And this is the look our dog April gave me when I suggested that she might want to go outside this morning and play with the kids who came over. A bunch of kids in the neighborhood come over when we have snow. We have a hill next to our house, and it's a magnet for kids with sleds because there's a wall on it. And this is just the end of it that I can film from the comfort of my living room. But anyway, 8 or 9, I guess, came over. They were out there for a couple hours between, I don't know, 7:30 and 9 o'clock this morning, I guess. Quite early. They were up bright and early, and they've all headed home now in the neighborhood here to get dried off. A couple of them will be back out soon, I'm sure. But anyway, it was always fun to see. And April is just as happy as can be to stay right inside the house, and this is where she is. All right, now on with the regular video. So what happened this week? Well, quite a bit happened this week, and I'm going to go through it. A couple of things I wanted to go over at the beginning here, regarding some inquiries I got this week for some copies that you should avoid that seem to be getting a lot of attention on eBay. I don't know why. And I want to talk about a sale that's coming up. It's over at the global member page. This is for those of you that subscribe. There's a sale coming up at Bronx in 5 days that has some pretty good things in it, including this big Swato bowl. It's 15 inches in diameter with a very low starting bid, and I suspect that's probably the reserve, probably around $400 or $500. But it's a nice one. It's a nice big Swato charger with birds in the center, a pair of geese, and nice flowers, aquatic plants, and so forth. And it's particularly well drawn. So if you're a late Ming buyer, you want to check that out. Check out their whole sale. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is this sale. It's happening in about 3 weeks at Case Antiques and Appraisals in Knoxville. They have gotten a hold of some very nice export porcelain, including this. And this is a historic bowl, a historic punch bowl tied to the American Revolution, even though it has Brits on it. And it is a memorial type that says "Arms of Liberty" to a Mr. Wilkes, who was a member of British Parliament who supported the American independence. He had been thrown out of Parliament a bunch of times. He was sort of a political character of the 18th century in England. He opposed the king. He was always in trouble with the king and so forth because he didn't believe in what they were doing in the United States, and he believed in liberty. He believed in democracy and all this other stuff. He was pretty much a rebel for his day. And they made a few of these armorial bowls with his image on it, "Arms of Liberty." And it's a nicely done bowl. It looks to be in good condition. And it was sold by Cohen & Cohen originally. It's got a Cohen & Cohen label on the bottom. Cohen & Cohen is one of the best Chinese export dealers in the world. They are, in the top 5, certainly, maybe in the top 2. Any rate, they sold this bowl, and it's coming out of a collection at it's being deaccessioned private Nashville, Tennessee estate, courtesy of the Museum of American Revolution and other items and so forth. There's a whole bunch of write-up on it in here. Check it out. It's 10 inches in diameter. It was made between 1770 and 1775, right around the time of the Revolution. And they were made and decorated in China for export to America and its colonies, okay, and to Britain. And it was sort of a thorn in the side of George III. But it's a historic bowl. If you collect Chinese memorial that's historic, this is something you want to chase down because you're not going to see another one anytime soon. And it's got a very modest estimate of $2,400 to $2,800 and an opening bid of $1,200. So check that out. The other thing they've got is this really nice late 18th century export strap-handled teapot with a British ship on it. Very nice piece of export porcelain, good type, and estimated moderately $400 to $500 with a $200 opening bid. Should bring more than that. Should bring $600 or $800, but a good thing again for the China trade collector. And then they have some silk. There's some very nice silk in the sale, including some robes and whatnot. There's more high-end export porcelain here. These big platters. I don't know this crest. You'd have to look it up in Ayers if you have it, but it's a very exuberant monogram. It's enormous. It's like a John Hancock signature. I think that's kind of interesting. But there are multiple pieces. There's a big platter, small platter, and it looks like 4 plates. All right, and the estimate on it is pretty reasonable. It's $400 to $500. I don't know why it's so inexpensive, but get a condition report always. But give it some serious thought. There's some nice Chinese immortals paintings here. There's 4 of them, very inexpensively estimated, $500 to $700 from a collection down there. It looks to me like they got into a good collection or a couple of collections. And Case Antiques have a good reputation. They handle nice things. If you can go back through their previous sales and see what I'm talking about. Good auction house, so check it out. But they don't run a lot of auctions. The one they do, they're good. There's also a really, really, really pretty Chinese women's robe, export robe, or not export robe, domestic robe, but spectacularly well decorated. This is beautifully, it's 19th century, beautifully woven, and it looks to be in great condition. Late Qing, but absolutely wonderful, and has all the patterns on it. You see the same pattern with the fruit clusters and the flowers, and you see it on porcelain of the Late Qing as well. And here it is on a robe with a very heavily developed wave band at the bottom with flowers coming out of it. It's just absolutely beautiful. The estimate, I think, is very low, $800 to $100 to $1,000. It's already up to $1,400. Should bring $4,000 or $5,000. But heck of a nice robe. If you're a robe buyer, check that out. And lastly is this, a rather nice little watercolor of an insects, a 19th century painting. And it was bought from John Sparks in England, a very famous English dealer. So that's just a sample of some of the stuff that's in there. So it's a good auction. It's worth looking into. The next thing I want to talk about is this. I've gotten a bunch of inquiries this week. These are being offered by a seller on eBay who sells only copies that I've seen. I've never seen anything authentic sold by them, but they sell things and they get pretty good prices for some reason. And the seller is Ming Dynasty 888. And they're selling this antique Chinese gilt bronze cloisonne vase. This vase is brand new. This is not an antique. It's not remotely old. And it's up to $4,000 for some reason that I fail to understand. It's not even of a type that was really ever made in this style, but the casting is so crisp, it's so new. Just if you're one of the some of you may have bid on this. This is why I'm bringing this up. If you have bid on it, retract your bid. All right, this is not something you want to own. This is a brand new fake. It's the same kind of stuff they sell at Eden's and all those places down in Georgia. All right, and they also have this up that's up to $3,000. It's an incense burner, also a brand new copy. I think this one has a chin-lung mark on the bottom of it. This is brand spanking new. It's very well made. They're making beautiful cloisonne pieces over there today. Still, they're really exceptional quality, but they're not antique. And if you're bidding on it and you know it's not antique and you just want to buy it, then go ahead and knock yourself out. But it is not antique. And the last thing I want to mention is this jade brush pot. This is a type of jade brush pot that when they're authentic, they're always 18th century, and they typically bring $300,000 to $500,000. This is a brand new one. The quality of the jade, the color of the jade is a very poor color. It's got a lot of inclusions in it, and the carving on it, while at a glance it looks pretty good, you can tell that it's contemporary carving done with machines and then, you know, polished out and finished and so forth. And here's a picture of the bottom of it. But this kind of stone with all these inclusions in it, all this muddling and so forth, isn't the type of jade that they carved in the 18th century. This is a type of stone that's available today, and it's a copy. It's a fake. All right, it's up to $1,625. All of these items close tomorrow, and a little heads up: these are copies. All of them are copies, and I hate to see people throw their money away. And that's what these pieces are all about. You look at everything else this fellow sells, and they're all obvious copies. Most of his things don't bring much, but somehow he's managed to get interest in these. I don't know how. I mean, and I'm not even, you know, who knows who the bidders are. But at any rate, stay away from it. That's all I can say. Just if you want to save some money. All right, now over on eBay, what happened this week? A number of things did quite well. There's still sort of a slowly coming back, but it was really quiet for the month of December. And now on eBay, things are picking up, and these are the things that we have on the newsletter page each week. We had this on last week. It's a late Qing turquoise glazed pot. You can see here it was marked China, and that could have been applied after it was made or at the time it was made for export. But a nice looking pot, beautiful thing, nice looking lamp, as a matter of fact. And in the end, it did pretty well. It brought $570, but a good looking piece of porcelain, nice color. It's the kind of color that you'll find on some Kangxi examples, and I suspect that's why it got some attention and did well. But it's also pretty. It's just a pretty looking pot. And then this robe, we talked about it last week. It looked like the ends had been taken off the sleeves or something, because they often mess with sleeve ends to adjust them, or would take them off and then add the final bit when somebody would be fitted for it. But this was a nice one, a nice looking robe. Again, here that wave pattern that we just looked at, similar to the one that we saw in the case sale with flowers coming through the waves. Here's another rendering of how they did it when they were using just blue and white. And a very nice wave pattern. Nice late Qing robe, ended up selling for $1,485. If it had multiple colors and it had yellows and reds and blues and all these other colors in complete sleeves, it would have brought a lot more. But in just blue and white, that was a good price for that. But it was a really pretty robe, really pretty, and it looked to be in good shape, condition. All right, and then over to this sort of, they called it Kwanjong style. I guess it is in a way, but it was a really fine bamboo root handled and root spout lobe formed teapot, late Qing, very nice quality. Had a Yongchen mark on the bottom. It's not Yongchen, but this was a really well done teapot. Beautiful form, beautiful type, highly desirable. And in the end, it took off. It did really well. It brought $3,650. I thought it was very attractive. A nice looking form. And then over to this Chinese export 18th century Famille Rose teapot. And what was nifty about this, the pot had a repair to it, but I put it in because I liked the repair. Underneath on the lid here, where it fits into where the cover fits on, got chipped and damaged. You can see here, and somebody must have loved the heck out of this teapot because they went back and they had this mount, maybe silver. I'm not sure what kind of metal it is. A mount made for it to serve as the flange to fit into the receiver on the top, so it would fit into this opening. And they had this beautiful metal flange built for it, and applied to it and put on there, attached it. This falls into that area where they call make-do teapots or make-do porcelains. You often see them do make-do handles on export mugs because the handles were very prone to breaking. And you see all kinds of creative handles that people make for these. And this is something I've not seen before, where they redid the lid flange. like in this way. That's something totally new to me. I think it was pretty nice. And it ended up selling for $435 because it's an 18th century pot, and it's very nicely decorated. It's got birds on the rocks and some nice negative space in there, a good bit of orange peel, nicely shaped, strongly potted piece of porcelain, nicely shaped spout, nice, simple handle and all that. And $435 with a repaired receiver, which is fine because it's makes it an interesting piece of export. The repair was probably done some time ago. That wasn't a recent repair. That was an old repair. And then on to because back in the old days, they didn't throw stuff out. You chipped the teapot, you fixed it. You didn't. You see pieces with staples all over them, holding the plate together. Sometimes they look like zippers. They use so many of them because they didn't believe in throwing things out just because they got broken. They fix them, and you keep using them. All right, and then over to this, the red pleated dragon robe or dragon skirt rather. This was a nice one. Had a little bit of fading here and there, but it was very nicely done, and the gilt thread on it was quite nice on this, which is and a bit unusual. All right, and it ended up selling quite well. Had minimal amounts of wear, other than some light fading along the creases. Ended up selling for $673. Again, Chinese silks continue to have a lot of strength in the market, and that one did well. And this one did even better, but it was this lime green ground, this light green, very unusual color in a Chinese skirt. Very, very unusual, and top quality needlework all the way around. This is beautiful quality needlework. Doesn't look like this this skirt was ever worn. Here's the waistband here. It's still completely white. So I suspect this was bought and put in a trunk somewhere, probably from a Westerner visiting China. They didn't wear them. They collected them as curiosities. And these beautiful flower vines going up each pleat all the way around. Just a beautifully made piece of silk. Wonderful. And this had a lot of interest. It ended up selling for $1,229. And that's a strong price for a skirt, but rare color, pristine condition, and absolutely great needlework, and drove the price up on it. But because it was just in such great condition all the way around. There's no apologies to make for this on any level. Just a wonderful looking thing. And then over to this, the little covered hot food pot, 19th century. I think they put it in as Daoguan or something. I'm not sure it was Daoguan. It could be late Daoguan. But nicely enameled, beautifully enameled. I love the dancing figure here. And nice seated figures holding flowers, gilded handles, the original wire handle. It's missing its lid. This originally had a porcelain lid on it, and it was obviously lost, and they made this nice wooden lid for it. And it ended up selling for $988. But a good-looking piece of porcelain. Very, very attractive. And what else was there? The export punch bowl. This punch bowl, typically when you see these bowls, they're at least 12 inches in diameter, often 15, even 18, or even I've seen them as big as 20 inches, and even a little bigger. This one was only 8 inches. It was a small one, but it was the kind of thing that if you love this pattern of rose mandarin, and you can't bring yourself to think about spending $2,000 or $3,000 for a large one, this is the kind of thing you could buy. It's scaled to on the inside. It's all scaled properly, and then the outside of it has a very unusual decoration. It had an open landscape figural scene running around it. I hope you notice, one of you got it and you noticed that. This is a bit unusual for these. It's nicely done with these bands running around it. Typically the interiors look like the exteriors look like the interiors with these cartouches within these Greek key fret borders. And this one, it's a continuous scene of figures on a veranda on the edge of a garden going around the exterior. And it was very nicely done. And somebody picked this up for $327. I think that was a very reasonable price for that. That was a nice looking bowl. It was being sold by, who was it? Penny P. Penny out in Ontario, Canada. Okay, it's not a seller I'm familiar with, but nice looking bowl, and somebody got a really good buy for an interesting bowl. And then over to this. This was a bowl that Joni's had up, the folks up in Canada. A nice 18th century famille rose floral decorated punch bowl. It was, I think it was about 11 inches in diameter. It was a nice example. It had the standard little, had a small hairline in it and had a chip out of the foot on the inside of the foot, which didn't bother me at all because the decoration on this is A+. The decoration on this is really, really, really nice. Very appealing, beautifully balanced, good balance of negative space. The execution and the drawing and the details of the insects and the flowers is very, very good all the way around. Up in here, the outlining, the shading of the enamels, the way it's done, all of it, the whole package. Just beautifully done. And then the interior with the simple few floral sprigs in the bottom, and then that rather standard diaper shaped outer rim with flowers, coming down, clustering off of it. And this very appealing, again, nice lime green inner border. And ended up selling for just $511. I think that was also a really good buy. This was a pretty bowl. Just absolutely pretty. And over to this, the dragon robe. This was that late Qing, early Republic dragon robe in silver gilt metallic threads. And that's all it had. I had no other colors. All it was metallic thread on silk, but nicely done. Looked to be in quite good condition. And sleeves looked good. And ended up selling for $1,904. And as the seller says, sold as found. Please study the photographs. This is Antique Guys, the sellers of this. They're over in the UK. I don't know them, but nice looking robe. Let's hope they got paid. Pay bills. Okay. And then some of the things that are coming up. That was about. I mean, there were some other things, dishes and small things like these pieces here. There was this rose medallion water pitcher that brought. They call it a ewer. It's actually a water pitcher or a milk pitcher, and it's somewhat of an unusual form. If you collect rose medallion, you know what I mean. It was made about 1850. Ended up selling for $315, but it was a nice one. It was good size and looked to be in good condition. All right, and then over to some of the stuff that's coming up this week. There's a bunch of stuff. We got a list here. They'll all be in the newsletter this week. There's another robe that closes in a few days. It closes on Sunday, but a good-looking Chinese silk robe, late Qing. It's not one of the modern ones. They are making copies of these, by the way. Hope everybody knows that. I should talk about that a little bit more. There are a number of very good copies that are being made of Chinese silk dragon robes, and you really got to look at them pretty carefully these days. Unless if you're not completely familiar with them, they're very convincing looking in a lot of ways. In other ways, they're not at all convincing. But they're turning up in auctions, and some of the auctions they're doing quite well. So you want to be a little bit careful of that. We've seen some that somebody asked me why we didn't include one auction house had a bunch of robes in the global member pages, and because he thought for sure that we would have added them, and I said I would have added them if they were old, but they weren't old, and it's a lot of the stuff that we don't include on the global pages, people often wonder, and that's why we have looked at it 90% of the time, 95% of the time, the stuff they ask about we've seen, because we look at those pages. We have a way to search for things every single day, and in general, if it's not there, it's because we've already seen it and we don't like it. And we do err on the side of caution. So we try to keep people from wandering into some bad stuff. All right, now over to this. This is the Chinese export chocolate pot, coffee pot. Beautifully done export example made in the late 18th, early 19th century. Very attractive strap handles on it. Here's a good picture of the bottom. Beautiful gilding. Everything, the berry finial on top is still in good condition. Nice strap handles. They look intact. I don't see where they've been damaged, because often these strap handles at this point have been, repinned and glued 5 times. It's up to just $13. It's got 6 days to go. It'll be in the newsletter page this week. If you're a Chinese export buyer, it's got a little bit of somebody's monogram on it. If you know somebody who has a monogram TP or LP, you can make a heck of a nice gift. All right, and then over here to this, UK Asian Art's got this up this week. They've got some nice early little celadons. This is a particularly nice one with this relief work on it. It's either Sung or Yuan Dynasty, but very attractive. This white bottom makes me think it's probably Yuan, but nice inlay. Notice the vine inlay coming off the body through the celadon. This is a very charming little pot. Really nice little jarlet. And there's another picture of that porcelain base. So yeah, I think it's probably Yuan Dynasty. And he said it was Yuan Dynasty. There you go. And UK Asian Art, it's got 8 days to go. It's up to just $2. Ought to bring 150 to 200 anyway. It's a nice little example. It really is the real deal. And rather unusual. You see these celadon pots fairly often, but you don't often see them with this inlay decoration on it. Makes it quite interesting. And he's got a number of other things. They'll all be in the newsletter. And this is something I wanted to share. If you buy 18th century export porcelain and you don't plan on buying a lot of it, but you want to buy a really good one, this is a piece of extremely fine Nanking porcelain. This is a really nice example. Beautifully done. Notice the trees. You can almost feel the wind that's blowing them. Beautifully done, with a honeycomb inner cavetto on the rim, and then you have the spear upper border, and then the diaper pattern here. And the border, these spear borders, when you see them, the more they look like spears, the finer the piece. This is basically how it works. But into the 19th centuries, they kept making those spears turned into little rows of dots. Sometimes you'll see them, there'll just be 3 or 4 dots running down instead of the spears. Those replace the spears. But the really fine ones have spears. And this is an exceptionally fine looking piece of export porcelain. So if you're only going to buy one, buy this one. The foot rim looks fine. The bottom of it looks fine. It's about a 9-inch dish, but beautiful quality all the way around. And so give that a look if you want to buy a nice piece of Nanking. Nanking is varietal of this Canton. This is sort of the regular willow pattern, blue and white, Nanking Canton, and then Fitzhugh. Those are the basics, and this is Nanking. But absolutely great. It's got, has 4 bids. It's up to $2. Ought to bring a couple of hundred. Knight Heron is selling this. He's a good dealer, and they operate out of New Mexico. But a beautiful looking dish. All right, so it's a good way to start a collection if you're thinking of building a collection of very, very fine export. This is it. The quality of the decoration on this is just outstanding. Really, really is. Don't be afraid to spend a few $100s on it. All right, and then over to this. This is closing in a few days too. This is a Chinese export silver set that was made in Hong Kong by the monogram. Look at the monogram. I'll remember the name. Hold on. Wan Ning, and this is his other mark here. He's in the silver book over in the reference section on Bidamount if you want to go look at it, and it explains who he was and what they made. They started out initially in the 1880s. They were well known for their card cases. They made beautiful, high quality card cases that are very collectible today. And then they moved into hollowwares like this, particularly famous for using bamboo formed handles and this kind of thing, and naturalistic trees. And they made tea sets, they made vases, they made sugar bowls, hollowwares, things for the foreign market. And they were in business right up through the 1930s. They stayed in business until World War II really made a mess over there. They survived a lot of upheavals, and then they shut down around 1940. But the bulk of their production was between 1885 and about 1925. All right, but they did very fine quality work, beautifully embossed silver, molded silver, relief work, all this good, nice chasing all over it, but very nice quality all the way around. This set is up to, what's it up to? $1,688. It's got a ways to go yet, I suspect. I suspect it'll probably double that. And the last thing I wanted to mention too was over in the bookcase this week. Pretty sure they're there now. I want to double check before I shoot my big mouth off here. Oh, I did mention these last week, right? The Legacy of Genghis Khan and all those books. That's what I wanted to remind you. We put all these books up there last week for reading material. Seeing as it's snowing, it's a good day to read. And don't forget to check the check editions on there. We'll be adding auction catalogs as soon as the auction houses put out a few. But right now it's a little bit quiet. They're sort of getting ready for. There's a few sales coming up at the end of this month in February. We'll talk about them a bit next week. And there's some stuff, sales from estates on the global member pages from a couple of the big auction houses. If you go and check, those aren't in Asian sales. Because keep in mind, Bonhams, Christie's, Sotheby's, all of them, they do their specialty sales, their Asian sales, for example, or their Impressionist art sales or whatever they've got. But when they get fairly large intact estates, they will often have very fine Chinese porcelain and things in their general auctions of the other art and antiques. And you don't want to forget to look there, because sometimes you have a better chance at buying something. Because not everybody does look there. They only wait for the major sales, the specialty sales to come out where they focus all their time. And they do put some absolutely great things in their general estate auctions and that kind of thing. And one of the sales that's coming up now, of course, is the property of one of the original founders of the Chinese Porcelain Company. And that sale is coming up in a couple of weeks, and he had some great things. So this was the man that worked with Khalil Risk for many years. He passed away a year ago this month, I think, or a year ago February. At any rate, he was a very nice man, I guess. Had a great collection. So check that out, all right? And that's about it for the week. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet here, please do. Come over to Bidamount and use the forum, submit things in there. Oh, there was a little confusion. There was a pop-up that was coming up regarding the inquiry program, the identification assistant program. This section here, and it was saying that we weren't doing them. That was something happened when the site updated, and it reactivated the pop-up I had put in back in November when I had to take a few weeks off from it because of the hospital thing. So I turned it off and it was fine, and suddenly for some reason it got reactivated. And somebody wrote me and said, "I thought you were doing them," and I said, "I am." And turned out that I just removed the thing completely. But if things change and I have to take a break again, I'll let you all know. But for now, we're doing these. There's been a lot of inquiries, some interesting things. And as I said, a lot of people inquired about those cloisonné pieces that are coming up. And I've told everybody, just stay away from them, stay away from them. Run away, run away, run away. All right. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather, and we'll see you next week. I got a couple of videos I got in mind for next week. It'll be interesting. All right. Bye-bye.